Are you having trouble making a decision whether to purchase a MacBook Pro or a MacBook Air? Do you want to know the difference between this year's 2020 models? Stay tuned and I will explain and help you make up your mind. Picking the right laptop for school or work is important. While a lot of tasks nowadays can be accomplished with an iPad, a full-featured MacBook is still the first choice for many students. MacBooks are among the most universally used laptops you can buy, but it's not always easy to pick the right one. In the UK, they range from £999 to £2,800 for the standard models, and even more if you want extra memory, storage, graphics card, or a beefier processor. As they all look and feel similar, I have a lot of clients asking questions on how to decide, especially when torn between the 13-inch MacBook Air and the very similar price 13-inch MacBook Pro. Now it's a good time to grab a MacBook while you can still get Intel Macs. All Macs will be transitioning to non-Intel chips over the next 2 years. This was huge news at Apple's WWDC show in June this year. All Macs will be getting the new Apple-designed ARM chips, replacing Intel CPUs they've had for years. Possibly one Apple Silicon product could arrive by the end of this year. Now, if it's anything like when Apple moved from PowerPC processors over to Intel processors in 2005, then we're likely to have similar problems for several years. And if you need to run the occasional Windows application, this will no longer be possible. If you need a new MacBook now, then Intel, which have proven great processors in my professional opinion, is your only option. This keeps you compatible with the rest of the world, and you are unlikely to be burdened with software problems that are bound to appear over the next couple of years. The good news is all of the new MacBooks come with Magic keyboards, so you'll have that same great responsiveness and feel between all models. Finally, after 5 years of problems plaguing all MacBooks since 2015, after Apple announced the butterfly keyboards have gone, and Apple are back using the scissor switch design in all previous models, so it's all good again. Now, there's a concept we all call line creep. It's what happens when brands keep adding iterations and subdivisions of popular product lines until no one can tell which one to buy. Apple has mostly avoided this trap by keeping just a handful of choices in each category. But this is still confusing when shopping for a MacBook. For several years you could purchase a 12-inch MacBook, a 13-inch MacBook Air, a 13-inch MacBook Pro, a 15-inch MacBook Pro, a 15-inch MacBook Pro with Touch Bar. There was also a 17-inch MacBook Pro and an 11-inch MacBook Air with plenty of additional configuration options. Your choice was endless. However, now Apple have simplified options and have gone back to basics. There is now only a 13-inch MacBook Air, a 13-inch MacBook Pro, and the 16-inch powerhouse of a MacBook Pro. This significantly simplifies your choices in making it easier to decide what category you fall into. Okay, so let's talk about Apple's current MacBook lineup. First of all, there's the MacBook Air. This MacBook is a favourite of many students and clients who want something light, portable, and can take a knock or two. Considering how thin they are remarkably tough. And great to take to the coffee shop, or if travelling a lot and you need something light, simple, and portable. Over the years, these MacBooks have got a lot faster, thinner, better Retina displays, and now look very similar to the MacBook Pro. But importantly, managed to keep that basic model less than £1,000. However, there's always a catch. And the catch in this case is that it comes with an i3 dual-core processor. Currently, at the time of purchase, you can upgrade it to an i5 quad-core processor for an additional £100, or even an i7 processor for £250. It does, however, come with 256GB flash storage, which is generally enough for most people, and a big step up from the 64GB and 128GB that came in previous models. The main thing this Mac lacks compared to the MacBook Pro is processing power, and it just has 2 USB-C ports. However, they are perfect if you're a student, a writer, or if you travel a lot and looking just for that all-rounder laptop. Now for the MacBook Pro. The 13-inch MacBook Pro 2012 has always been my favourite laptop Apple ever made. As an engineer, I can say they are super reliable, easily upgradable, and can, as of today, still run the latest macOS. You can pick these up for a bargain if you were to look on eBay or Gumtree or something along those lines, and you certainly will not be disappointed. However, the current models with their additional upgrade of a 10th generation processor have come a long way, and all MacBooks now come with an Apple Touch Bar. Now, the Apple Touch Bar is not as bad as everyone seems to say. The initial problems seem to have all gone away, but in my opinion, they are not that useful either. Since they are similar in price, you might be tempted to go for the less expensive Air over the Pro. After all, they look and feel similar. They share a lot of the same features. And for many, that's the right call. But if you're looking at working with more power-hungry apps such as Photoshop or Final Cut Pro, keep in mind the Air uses that lower-powered Y-series Intel chip, while the Pro uses the more traditional U-series chip with its higher clock speeds. If you are just surfing the web, checking your emails, using it for social media and streaming your movies, you're not going to notice the difference. However, for the more CPU intensive tasks, you will. The MacBook Pro's larger body and display is designed for heat generated for heavier workloads, so it's less likely to be throttling your CPU, known as thermal throttling, which is where the processor protects itself, cooling down the chip by lowering its speed. Let's take a look at a few results taken from Geekbench. Now, Geekbench is a cross-platform application that puts your machine under load, testing its performance and giving you a score compared to other machines out there. So let's take a look. Right. As you can see, I've already downloaded several results for machines mentioned in this video, so to save time and we can compare. Now, there's two scores here. There's the single score and then there's the multi-score. Now, the single score sends a single stream of instructions useful for some consumer-based applications like Microsoft Word and Google Chrome and stuff like that. Now, the first three tabs here are, now this is the early MacBook Air, the entry-level machine. As you can see, it's an Intel Core i3 and it's got 2 cores. And it's given a reasonable score of 1004 and 1600 for multi. Now, if we go up a step, let's say we upgrade it with an i5 processor, as you can see, there's quite a big jump in the multiple score, but not such a great in the single core score. And this is, again, all of these tests here, they've all been uploaded as of August this month, and they're all running 10.15 as an operating system to try and keep it as fair as possible. So 1004 1654, and that's 1023 2824. And then there's the i7 processor, which is another upgrade for the MacBook Air, and that gives you an even better multi-core score of 3093. Now, let's go and have a look at the MacBook Pro, the entry-level MacBook Pro, which, bear in mind, that's got the 8th generation processor and not the 10th generation processor as used in the MacBook Airs. But, as you can see, it has a slightly slower single-core score, but it does have a much more powerful multi-core score. And this is just the 1.4 gig entry-level machine. Now, if we go and have a look to see what the MacBook Pros are on Apple's website, and as you can see, this is the entry-level one, a 1.4 gig i5, and it's only a few £100 more expensive than the MacBook Air. Now, it is only an 8th generation processor, and you can't upgrade this machine to a 10th generation. That's an 8th generation. If you want a 10th generation processor, you will have to opt for the top of the range machine, and you can even have a processor, you know, a 2.3 gig, I think it is. Let's go and have a look. So at time of purchase, yes, you can go for a 2.3 gig processor for an extra £200. So this is an 8th generation processor, and the MacBook Air is a 10th generation processor. So even though it's a newer gen in the MacBook Air, the MacBook Pro still outperforms it with a multi-core score, which is used by most applications like Photoshop, Final Cut Pro. Even the Apple operating system now uses multiple cores. Now I know it's not necessarily the most accurate, as it depends on many things and what else is running on the Mac. However, I have compared several results and ensured they have the same version of Geekbench, the same macOS Catalina, and the results are uploaded as of this month, August 2020. The other thing to be aware of in the 13-inch MacBook Pro is that you need to step up to the more expensive configuration to get the newer 10th generation CPU. And you also get 4 USB-C ports instead of just the 2. Okay, now for the awesome 16-inch MacBook Pro. Laptops are often all about cramming in as much as possible into the thinnest, lightest and the smallest package possible. But sometimes bigger is better. I, for one, used to use the fabulous 17-inch version of the MacBook Pro 2011. I kept it running for many years, up until about 3 years ago when I opted for the faster 2016 MacBook Pro, which I shortly sold and went back to the 2015 dual graphics, which is what I'm currently using now. Apple finally resurrected it by bringing out the 16-inch MacBook Pro, and at the time killing the 15-inch versions. It's huge, at least compared to the 13-inch MacBook Pro, but still very portable, especially when side by side to 15-inch Windows laptops. The main selling point, of course, is the screen real estate, which is perfect for those timelines used in Final Cut Pro, those music score sheets, CAD work, and it's absolutely fantastic for number crunching. The main problem with the 16-inch MacBook Pro is the price. Starting at £2,399 and the next model is £2,799, it doesn't stop there. You can spec it up to a whopping £6,699. However, if you're a music producer, a video editor, an architect working on 3D or 4D modelling, then in my opinion, this beast of a MacBook is worth every penny, and it's the best MacBook yet. With its discrete graphics card and that little extra battery life, paired with an AMD Radeon graphics option, having a powerful GPU to drive that real estate is very important. When the MacBook Air launched in 2008, it was by far the lightest laptop available. Over the years, with the loss of the DVD writer, the network port, FireWire ports, and generally much slimmer machine, the weight of the MacBook Pro has also significantly shrunk. So the difference is a lot less than it was. The 2020 MacBook Air is still less than that of the MacBook Pro, and weighs in at 1.29 kilograms compared to 1.4 kilograms. As for the size, the 2019 MacBook Air is 304mm by 212mm and 16mm thick, tapering off to 4.1mm at its narrowest point. The 13-inch MacBook Pro has the same footprint as the MacBook Air, but it's a little thicker overall, at 15.6mm, and it doesn't taper. Both 13-inch MacBooks come with a Force Touch trackpad and Touch ID. Therefore, the only major difference between the two MacBooks is the missing function keys that have been replaced with a touch bar on the MacBook Pro. Now for storage options. Both of the entry-level MacBook Airs come with 256GB of standard storage, but can be upgraded at the time of purchase. Now the MacBook Air, you can upgrade to 2TB, where the MacBook Pro can go up to 4TB. Or if you're looking at the 16-inch, that can go up to an unbelievable 8TB of super fast flash storage. Now for the displays. Last year, 2019, Apple upgraded the display on the Air to a Retina display with True Tone technology. So now, both have 13-inch LED displays with IPS technology and a resolution of 2560 by 1600. The only subtle difference between both of them is the MacBook Pro boasts a brightness level of 500 nits and a wide colour gamut, where the Air is sRGB at 400 nits. So what about the 16-inch? Well, it has the same brightness as the Pro, measuring at 500 nits, but with a larger display, just shy of 6 million pixels, and a whopping resolution of 3072 by 1920. It also has a higher pixel density of 226 ppi for that more immersive front of screen experience. Each display is individually calibrated at the factory for accurate gamma, white points and primary colours. Now for the battery life. Where processor speed is clearly in the MacBook Pro's favour, there's another important factor, and that's battery life. This time the MacBook Air wins. Apple claims it can handle 11 hours of web browsing and 12 hours of video playback, compared to 10 hours of browsing and 10 hours of video on the 13-inch MacBook Pro. The 16-inch, however, has a surprising 11 hours of both wireless browsing and video playback, which is pretty impressive for a laptop with that grunt. Now lastly, there's the ports. Back in the days, MacBooks came with a wide range of ports like Ethernet, HDMI, DisplayPort, USB, Thunderbolt, Firewire, an SD card slot, a headphone slot, mic inputs, MagSafe for charging. Now they've all gone, and Apple has moved to USB-C, which also supports Thunderbolt 3 and DisplayPort. Then there's the headphone jack. Charging your MacBook uses one of the USB-C ports, so you must bear in mind that both the entry-level MacBooks that come with just 2 USB-C connections, one of them will be used for charging the machine, where the upgraded MacBook Pro comes with 4 USB-C ports, and that's the same for the 16-inch version. Apple sells plenty of adapters, allowing you to use your older USB devices. They do HDMI, VGA, card readers, and much more. So to conclude this video, well, clearly if money is no option and you want the best, then it's obviously the 16-inch. But this video is really all about comparing the 13-inch MacBook Air and the 13-inch MacBook Pro. So simply put, if you're looking for something that's more affordable, want a longer battery life and portability, then the MacBook Air is the perfect fit. With all its improved graphics and a whopping 80% faster than the previous generation, and now with the 10th generation processor, it's hot on the heels of the MacBook Pro, with its slightly dated 8th generation processor, making it an awesome laptop. However, if you're wanting something with more grunt, the entry-level MacBook Pro, even with the older 8th generation processor, has 4 cores, compared to just 2 in the MacBook Air. It's a better bet for speed and has a slightly better display, so if you want something more flexible for graphic design, video or music production, then it has to be the MacBook Pro. Not as if the Air now is not capable of running the software too, it's just the Pro is a much better fit. So, a question. After watching this video, what MacBook are you thinking of getting? And did this video help you? I would be interested in knowing. Please let me know in the comments section below. Also, let me know what videos you would like for me to create next. Okay, so that's it for now, and I hope you found this video interesting. Thanks for watching everybody, and if this video helped you, be sure to hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel for some more of my useful videos. This is Darren from iFixApple. Thank you.